Hey everybody, it's me, Martinez-Bateman, CEO of New Coyote Consulting, and I just had a really productive conversation with my business coach. But one of the things that we talked about really wrapped up into something that I've been talking about with different people all week. And what it sort of boils down to is performance. Like one of the things that, and this like a lot of business problems, this was not a business problem when I first acquired it. This was a personal problem. When I was younger, I was explicitly told, or more likely, or more often implicitly told, that if I did not entertain my parents first and then other people in my life, if I didn't entertain people, if I didn't show up with sort of like something to give them, that I wasn't holding up my end of the bargain, that I wasn't, basically that I wasn't going to get the basic support that every child is owed, whether they're entertaining or not. And, I think that was reinforced when I was younger with my parents. They were very much like, just if you're not entertaining, if you're not interesting, they would lose interest. They would go, who knows where. And then later on, my grandmother did a lot of work and got me a scholarship to a private school, which was very formative. It did a lot of good things for me, being able to go to a private school. And also, because of the sort of like, white supremacy and extractive capitalism present in all of our institutions, including and especially private education, I was very much made to feel that everyone was doing me a huge favor and that I needed to perform academically, and also literally, like the school had a very high emphasis on the arts, and so I actually needed to perform, like in theater, with musical instruments. Like there was an expectation that I would show up in a more substantial way than the other kids because my education was being subsidized. I was supposed to make up that difference somehow with the value of my presence. And I did, and I loved it because it was affirming, despite that being like a really destructive framework. I really thrived in school, and so it was really affirming to do good and to be sort of like deemed valuable by this institution. And it also really fed into some just garbage assumptions that I kept with me. And then, that carried on. It carried on when I got a scholarship to college. It carried on when I was in my career. Bosses that I had were a lot of people who had a lot of emphasis on customer service, which at my core, I'm a people person, and I love people, and I love serving people, and I love, I totally buy into the whole like servant leadership model. I think that it's really important that when we're in charge of people, we're making sure that their needs are getting met, that all of these things are happening. And like, and I had some really great bosses who told me and taught me about how to take care of people in the workplace. And also, there was this performance of service, this performance of customer service, of client service, performance of like management service that didn't, like maybe 75% of the time it hit the mark enough that, people were like, yeah, okay. But it really didn't hit the mark of like actually serving that customer or serving that staff person. It was just it was like a theatrical thing. It wasn't a real true service to the client or to the customer. It was artifice. And I've had this conversation, like I said, several times with different people, internal to New Coyote and also just in the world, where this artifice of service, one, is breaking down. After COVID and this like economic crisis and the Great Resignation and all of this performative aspect of the like always cheerful, and this is very mostly true in America, the like mandatory cheer that we require with our service is really manipulative and gaslighty and garbagey. And, it's, for years, I would never tell someone who worked for me, like, you need to be happier. But I say that to myself all the time, that I need this mandatory cheer and this sort of like gray rocking and this like, almost like disingenuous presentation with clients and staff and colleagues in a professional setting, which doesn't match my personality at all. It doesn't make fucking sense that I'm doing this, but it's this performance of service that actually at this point in my life and in my career is getting in the way of my service. And I don't know, I really am happy that we have this opportunity to reframe what service means and what it means to feel like you're getting service. Because I was talking to my bookseller about this, when I walk into her store and I'm like, hey, how are you? She's like, oh, well, this is stressful and making it through because we're all still trying to like manage our lives in a damn global pandemic. And then she also mentioned that other booksellers she knows are getting like these really rude customers who are expecting them to do unrealistic things, like get out of print books in a day's notice. And she's not having that problem. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're a fucking real person with me. Like, I would never expect you to do anything unrealistic because you're a human. I understand that you're like a person. And I feel like we're moving towards a place where we can be more human in our service interactions, and I'm just over fucking joyed about it. And I look forward also to relearning my own habits, which are, in this context, they're bad habits. This disingenuity that I bring to service actually gets in the way of how I actually want to do service. So that's just like a random midweek thought. I'll be back tomorrow for the Thursday update. See you later.